Okay, I think we are a go.
Terrific, thank you. I will pull up our agenda. Make sure I have the right date on there. Looks good, February 17th, 2022. Hello, everybody. I'll start with the opening. The motto of the social ethic by Rudolf Steiner. The healing social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. Would anybody like to contribute a song today? All right, I'll move into excitement sharing. Big time of the year, sun's coming back, excited about. This is my favorite time of year, so I'm excited about having some fun and getting these kids out. And we're going to go to Alyeska for the weekend, so we're all just kind of decompressing for a little bit.
I'm excited about the things that are happening around school. Lots of great, just lots of great happenings. The energy is higher. We can feel it in the students and in the teachers. Everybody's kind of feeling like, okay, we're getting through this first year to come back, and I think spirits are high.
On my screen is the approval of the minutes, if everybody's ready to move on.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Terrific. Thank you, Jesse.
This is Nick, and I'll second that.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Molly. I sent minutes for January, November, and special session. So is that a motion to approve all three?
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you for the friendly assist, Molly.
Yes.
Thank you. Terrific. Community comments, 3 minutes each. Please note, this is the public's time to talk and the board's time to listen. Winterberry Charter Council. Yes, go ahead.
We need to do approval of the agenda first. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I did approval.
Okay.
I linked it all right in there. So we covered all of the past approval of the minutes. So approval of the agenda. I believe I'm screen sharing right now. Notice everything on there is about the same. We have our elections committee, as well as a continued conversation on the three body, kind of a closeout statement on ASD masking policy, and the annual calendar review. I'm starting on, and we'll do a quick principal evaluation executive session and close out our night. Anybody like to approve the agenda for tonight?
I move to approve the agenda.
This is Nick. I'll second that.
Thank you, Paula and Nick. Community comments. This is the public's time to talk and the board's time to listen. Winterberry Charter Council does not hear complaints against students or personnel in public session. It is not the board's practice to engage in discussion or to answer questions during community comments. Commenters' names will be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. Hearing community comments, go right into the administrator's report.
All right, let me share my screen. Let's see here. This is part. That's it. Does everyone see that? The principal's report? Yep. All right, our mission, growing the innate potential of each child. Winterberry's vision, to receive the children in reverence, educate them in love, and send them forth in freedom. Ongoing gratitude to our families who are so good to us on Thursdays with meals and delicious things to keep us going throughout the week. A reminder for all families to continue kind of noting that Winterberry Business newsletter comes out every Thursday, except for this Thursday, Ms. Collins has been gone. And it is a really great way to touch in with what's happening during the week. And I really want to get our click rate numbers up so that we have most, if not all, families tuning into that newsletter each week. Alternative and Charter Schools Fair is this Saturday from 12 to 4. If you are around and available, please come by our table to answer questions about Winterberry from a parent's perspective. I thought it'd be fun just to have parents stopping by so that when people come up to the table, there's another perspective than mine standing there. In the hands realm, our cross-country skiing, we are doing very well in that realm, and lots of enthusiasm around our skiers and coaches and all the things that they do during the week, all their practices. And we say about Winterberry, small but mighty. They do very well in the meets and things. We are forming a group, have formed a group, continue to. Sorry, that was on outdoor site. The group for promotional material is happening, as well as another group for a historical picture of Winterberry. I'm trying to establish some seed groups that we can move into next year. We can basically meet a couple of times at the end of this year and then move into next year and accomplish some significant things, in the promotion of Winterberry for our community to know who we are and what we do, and for us to look back at how we got here and our historical picture of Winterberry. And then I'll just hop over to say about our outdoor site committee, so that a group is forming now that will take a look at our outdoor site and the things that we can do for that site to make it as usable as possible for as much of the school as possible. School tours are happening each week. Lottery started, so we've had lots of families in our school touring. If anybody knows of any families that are interested, have them just call the front desk to schedule a tour. We have a great group of subs that help to sustain us daily, with people out here and there with their own illness or their child's illness, and to help run our tutoring program that's happening. COVID testing available ongoingly through our school nurse for all families, anybody in the family. So please contact Nurse Katrina if you are interested in getting a test. Our parent-teacher conferences were this week, yesterday and today. And I think some teachers may be finishing up on Friday because we had a funny day yesterday because of the ice day. There are no school for students yesterday, today, tomorrow, or Monday for the holiday. Tutoring program for general ed students who've been identified by their class teachers. We have a program kind of clicking along there, and now we're starting to develop a supplementary, kind of extra lesson type program to launch that will class teachers will identify students again, and we'll have adults to work with those students in the kinds of things having to do with body work, mostly balance beam work, ball bouncing for olders, beanbag passing, different kinds of things like that that we feel help children in their academics, have crossovers in their body work to their academic life. Planning for our eurythmy teacher, who is due to come to us starting the week after spring break for 4 weeks, and looking forward to sharing her with our greater community, maybe through some kind of Zoom meeting or something like that, so everyone get to know a little bit about eurythmy in that way. And then also just putting the 3-body meeting on the agenda, or on the in my report again, as if we can identify a date, it would be wonderful to have some form of
Leave
3-body
that open a crack.
meeting
sorry.
for some form of 3-body meeting for our school before the end of school, again in that same fashion, to kind of gather in, look at what we do and how we do it, and then be able to put those kinds of things, whatever's discovered and uncovered in that meeting, to play in the next year, beginning in the next year. Just not, even though it's only February, it's going to go fast and our year will be over. But if we lay some good groundwork, I feel like we can have a really productive start to next year. I'll end with a Rudolf Steiner quote: "Our highest endeavor must be to develop free human beings who are able of themselves to impart purpose and direction to their lives. The need for imagination, a sense of truth, and a feeling of responsibility. These 3 forces are the very nerve of education." Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Pepe. I lost my screen there. Pull up the next part here. Oh, the faculty report. Well, that might get passed today, considering our 2 representatives are not with us. Should we move into the WPG report? Do I need to do something in the minutes that that it was passed this month?
No, I think that Molly will just note that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have just a very brief WPG report. We had a great meeting. I think a lot of the things that were highlighted throughout that meeting have been included in Principal Pepe Phelps' complete report, which is great. One thing I did want to note is that there is a parent climate, a family climate survey that's out and circulating. And hopefully parents have seen that, but do want to lift that up. And there's a deadline, I believe, of March 25th for the completion of that survey. And so wanted to note that. Also, we're still looking for volunteers on our ski team, and want to quickly just do a shout out to Coach Carl and everything that he is doing, and others currently to support our small but mighty ski team. They are looking for some extra sets of hands and skis, adults to be out there with the team. So if anyone is interested, or if you know of others that might be interested, please help encourage that. And yeah, just lots of great discussion about the evolution of that parent body, the work that's being done, thinking through next steps of, how to proceed with upcoming events, how to support community engagement, and of course, at the heart of it all, how to do more to support our teachers with their education goals and their ongoing certification needs. So nothing but great things to say about the parent body and ongoing discourse there. Open to any questions that you might have. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I hard time switching back and forth between the screen while we're watching each other and the agenda, part of my tech skills. Oh, Shayna, would you like to give the budget report?
Yes. All right. And if Julie or if you could bring it up, that would be great.
Yes, I will.
So everybody can see. And I did email it out to everybody as well. And I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it, but I'll just go through it. This is the up-to-date fiscal 22 report. It's up to date as of the 15th. And if you look at the graph, so Julie, you can just put up the graph and I'll go through the report part. And it'll
Okay,
match this.
I'm doing that right now. Let me just.
No worries. I'll wait.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
I also have it too, if that helps, Julie.
1 second. Computer is. I don't know what's happening. Okay. If you have it and can put it up, I'll give you the, I've got a lot of screens open and I've got to find myself back. Hold on. I know everybody's somewhere. Oh, there we are. There we are. Okay. Mark, I'm going to give you screen sharing, if you wouldn't mind doing that until I get my act together, then I'll be, I will be.
I can do that. Let's see. And I'm just pulling up the graph. Is that right? So is that the budget report?
Mm-hmm.
No. There we go. Does that work?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So if you look at it, it's comparing what our fiscal year 22, we budgeted and where we currently are. What we fiscal 22 year budgeted projections was 3,008,059. Our current spending of that so far is 1,607,791. And that, like I said, it was start from February 15th. With that, that's about 70%. Or we're about 70% into our fiscal year. So with that, that means we've spent about only 53%. So if you look at that, we're about 20% under budget, which is good. Our salaries, we have budgeted, we've spent about 788,930 of the 1,500,838. And then I put the percentage of where we're at with each, so you can kind of see that in the line of where we would normally be at of the 70%. So we're at 52.57% of the budget spent on the salaries. Then we go down to the benefits. We've spent not quite half, so 357,745 of the 729,707 that we budgeted. So we're at about 49% that we've spent so far. So, and then our building costs, we've spent 300. This is the building cost. Oh, that's the rent too. So 373,600 64 of the building costs of 485,036 spent. So 76.9% of the budget is spent. We are over budget on as far as percentage goes with the building costs, but that is due to certain maintenance works that had to be done in the building that ended up being part of from fiscal 2021 that ended up needed to pay for the fiscal year 22. It's for our broken pipe that occurred and then safety ballast replacement. So that threw it off just a little bit as far as the building costs. But supply costs, if you look, we're at 60,064 of the 277,478 budgeted. However, that budget is a little high because that's not what we normally would budget. That's kind of what we're using as a placeholder. The ASD budget decided to put it there instead of unallocated. So it does throw that number off. So you really don't want to look at the 21.65%. But as far as a good indication of where we're at with our supply costs, but we're in a great place ultimately. But we do have an increase in building supplies due to site supplies needing for outdoor classroom. And the reason it was put in that place versus using the ESER 2 at that time is because the ESER 2 wasn't available for us, but it will be replaced. So it'll balance out. So the ESER 2, we can either transfer it over or we can put other things and it'll balance out. And then the last would be the liability costs. We've spent liability insurance, like we've discussed last several budgets, it has increased drastically. So we spent 27,988 of the 15,000 that was budgeted. The reason we didn't budget enough is because it wasn't the increase of the expected increase wasn't budgeted because we didn't know that it was going to be needed until after the budget was set. So, but for the next year, it has been adjusted because we're going to see increases each year on that. And that won't fluctuate. Just so you know, the liability cost is just a one payment. It's not going to increase or anything. It's just a fixed. Is there any questions?
Shayna, when do you do the supply costs, the actual like purchasing of the items for 2023? Are you expecting any holdups on those, because of the supply chain? Or
for next fiscal year, I don't start. So in April is when I'll start going through the Mercurius stuff. And then I'll order that based on what we need. And then we get that created. And that usually comes a few weeks before the teachers come and I have everything organized. But as far as everything else, I can't spend fiscal year 23 funds until fiscal year 23 occurs.
okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I imagine just like everything else, those costs are probably going to rise.
Yes, I'm sure. And with shipping costs and everything, I've seen it over the last several years, just a slow increase.
Thanks for keeping an eye on it.
Mm-hmm, of course.
All right. Thank you, Shayna. Again, committee reports, administrative committee, in the first one there on we have safety. Do we have a safety or an outdoor play space today?
Brief. I'll be brief. You can, if you want to close the screen now, I don't think we need that here anymore. If you want us to see each other better. Safety. We are keeping our drill schedule properly laid out. We do our fire drills and our earthquake drills, our different drills that have to do with Alice and things like that. Alice drills are noticed before they happen. So parents have the opportunity to know that. And all of our faculty and staff and subs that we have in our building are at all times outdoors, fully vested with radios, so that any child on the playground would know at any moment to look up to see an adult in a vest with a radio, that they could get assistance in whatever form they needed it. Help with a friend or something that was happening that was dangerous, that they would need an adult to help them. So that, I feel like we do a good job with that. And also we have a very smooth process in drop off in the morning and pick up in the afternoon. Slow but mighty. No, it is actually all over within a 15-minute window. And I know that when you're sitting inching along, it feels maybe slower, but it does go pretty smoothly in comparison to other schools. And we're very, very safety oriented in terms of crosswalks. And if anybody's ever tried to cross outside of the crosswalk, they would immediately hear a chorus of voices reminding them crosswalk. And so we take that very seriously, because the dark mornings, backing up and things like that, there's a lot that could go wrong. And we are really, really careful with outdoor safety and cars and children. And just a little reminder, the speed limit is 5, which is almost impossible to go into the parking lot going 5 miles an hour, but it is the speed limit. And cell phones, being on a handheld cell phone, I mean, really, I would think any cell phone, any distraction like that wouldn't be a great thing to do. But it's carries a $500 fine with it. So while parents are pulling up to the school, probably best to get, just let go of any cell phone conversations or anything before you get onto school grounds. I just wanted to express my deep appreciation for our SROs. I have utilized SROs, just a handful of times in the time that I've been principal. And every time I've called them or needed their help in different little kind of minor-ish things around Winterberry, they have come immediately. They have been extremely responsive and had such a sort of warm and professional response at our school when dealing with any students or having any contact with us. They're extremely helpful. And although Winterberry does not use SROs, I know that their place in the school district's a little in question right now. And I just wanted to express my humble appreciation for them, because in every instance I've ever encountered them, they have been incredibly helpful for me. So there's the safety report. Any questions on that?
I don't have a question, but I am very thankful for our process in the morning, because as I leave, I drive by East and I look in their parking lot and the line of cars that's at the East school. I am very thankful for the way that our drop off moves compared to what they're going through every morning. I can only imagine.
Yeah, that's great. Good perspective. You want me to roll into play space?
Yeah.
So exciting things are happening in our outdoor play space. We had a noon Zoom to kind of launch the idea and the thought of what our play space is about. There's been a lot of work in the past by a group of people, but namely kind of the leader of that kind of group has Una Martin has held the vision. Not to mention she's a landscape architect, so she has also drawn the vision, documented the vision, shared the vision, and we've done through the years a lot of great work in our play yard in terms of keeping a sense of place and keeping it naturally bound, and doing the most with the space that we have. She has a lot of background in natural play yards and things like that, and the philosophies of play, and we are grateful to have her skills. So we started with our noon Zoom, and that kind of launched interest. And just hold on for 1 second. We had this great group that came on this noon Zoom, and then that core group of people gathered a week or so later to walk the site and to look at all the different elements that Una had shared in the drawings that she had made and things like that, kind of the status of what we have been doing. In our group, just by random chance, we have a landscape architect or two, a geotechnical engineer, a project manager of a major construction company, and an owner of an excavation company. So ask and ye shall receive. We've got a wonderful group of enthusiastic new-ish parents. They have kindergarten and first grade children. So we have years ahead of us, years to enjoy their great volunteer efforts. So anyhow, it's fun. It's very heartening to see new parents and people jumping in, and that sort of breath of new life for things that we are excited about and think that are important. So that's it. Any questions in that report?
Yeah, that was super fun though. Thank you. WCC subcommittees, legislative.
I have a brief report to share. There are a couple of bills that I think are of interest that I wanted to bring to the body's attention, and they relate to the base student allocation. And we've talked about this a little bit in concept. I know I've talked about it a couple different times this past year. And that's a really key figure that comes through the state, through the Department of Education, into the school district. And you think of it as a summation of funds that follows each student to a school. And so for charter schools like ours, that base student allocation is really key. And we've seen that be flat funded consistently historically. And there are two bills that have been introduced that seek to support both an increase and also to inflation proof the base student allocation. So I'll just quickly share the bill numbers in case members of this body wish to look into this legislation a little more, and we can talk further about it. There is an upcoming hearing as well, and so I'll share some of those details too. The legislation, there's two different bills. They're sponsored by the same representatives. So the first one is House Bill 272. The sponsors for that legislation are Representative Story, Drummond, Sponholz, Hopkins, and Schrage. That bill seeks to increase the base student allocation, changing that sum from $6,153 per student up to $6,208 with an effective date of July 1, 2023. The next bill is House Bill 273. It's the same sponsors. Once again, Story, Drummond, Sponholz, Hopkins, and Schrage. And then if you're thinking about geography, because I think that does matter, that's from Southeast here in Anchorage. Again, in Anchorage, that's Drummond and Sponholz. Hopkins up in Fairbanks, and Schrage, also more recent. This is the second session from here local. That legislation, HB 73, seeks to inflation-proof that base student allocation. Both bills are really short on text, and I'd encourage you to just take a peek on your own time. There is a hearing that is being scheduled. That hearing date is February 23rd. It's at 3:30 in the House Education Committee. just wanted to call that out for awareness and certainly open to answering any questions you have.
Jesse, just because yeah, go for it. Sorry, Molly, you first.
I don't have a question, but can I mention another bill that is important for education?
Yes, go ahead.
House Bill 220 seeks to give other options to tier 3 teachers, such as myself, who at this time have no pension and have will lose most of the Social Security that I earned before becoming a teacher, unless I move and retire from somewhere else. So this is so HB 220. It's really important for retaining teachers in Alaska. Anyone who started teaching in the last 14 years, we do not have a good retirement situation. So what happens is people will work for a few years, long enough to get vested in our 401 and then leave the state, because this is not a good place for us to retire from.
Thank you very much for calling out that bill. And if my memory serves me, it's Rep. Hopkins, who is the sponsor of that legislation, right? And he is from the Fairbanks region, for folks who might not know. Thank you, Molly. Mark, you had a question as well?
No, I'm pretty sure I would be able to find where to chase down.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. So I'm excited to share this as a research or as a tool, research tool. So it's www.akleg, so akleg.gov. And this
Would you put it in the chat box?
yes, it's www.akleg.gov. I'll put it in the chat. I just wanted to say that again for anyone who's following on Zoom, but or Zoom via YouTube. That is a one-stop place where anyone can go to learn about anything that's happening in Juneau, or executive orders or anything else that's going to be impacting business in the capital. And I'll just wait for a second so you guys can see it, because I think once you go to it, if you have access, it will make more sense just to kind of get a lay of the land and a feel for it. But you go to the homepage, at the very top of the homepage, there's a search bar, and you can put any bill in that search bar and it'll pull the bill up. You can access the full text. You can see sort of its path of referral. So when I describe that committee that's going to be in on the 23rd, after that committee, it'll know where it's going next. And then based on the committee, you can go onto the left-hand sidebar and it says committees. You can look up and see who's on these committees and where are they from, and get a sense on who you could reach out to if you might know someone, or if you want to send an email or a letter, who you can direct that to. And then at the very, very bottom of this resource page, there's a link that can take you to live meetings, so you can watch those meetings as they happen. And if anyone is interested in calling in testimony, because you don't have to be there obviously in person, you can contact the LIO office, Legislative Information Office, and they'll provide you a number and you can give public testimony if that's of interest. And testimony is generally 2 minutes long. You just want to be short and to the point, and share your views and why you think a bill is important, or not, if that's your feeling. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to note is a really great tool that's a bill tracker. So sometimes it's really hard to follow bills because we're really busy. So there's a bill tracking, and it's at the bottom in tiny little letters at the bottom of this page. but there's a phone number that you can plug into text, and you text to that number. It's like 559-245-2529. It's listed at the bottom. And you put the bill that you're interested in the text field. And then anytime something happens to that bill, or it moves, or maybe there's a committee substitute, that's when a committee will adjust a bill and then they'll put a new one in. Any of that type of stuff, it'll ping you if you're wanting to be alerted. And that's just helpful in general. So those are just a couple of quick tips. If you're interested in learning more about how to follow key legislation. And I'm going to put that language I just was describing, I'm going to just put it in the chat as well, for education purposes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to digging into that. That's a good one. Looks like we're transitioning to the election committee. Are we able to, and all, I totally didn't even think about this until earlier today, that to be reconsidered for a seat such as my own, I probably need to submit something that people can read and vote on. And I haven't done that.
It's okay, don't worry. And Molly and I are we're ready to kind of speak to our committee work together today. And just I'd love to have a little bit of grace and ask that we make this a little more of a working committee report, because there is some ongoing work that we're trying to accomplish together. So if you're okay, Mark, can we proceed with that report out?
Yeah.
Okay. So Molly, I'm happy to start a little bit, and then maybe if you want to talk about our next step ideas after that.
That sounds good.
Okay, great. So Molly and I have been connecting, and we have not received notices of interest yet. And I know that we've tried to kind of cast out some messaging, and we've spoken about it here. But at this point, we have a sense of some of our current sitting members whom are willing to continue. But then we have some areas that we don't yet have a candidate. And so we were just brainstorming and wanted to bring some thoughts to you all, and wanted to hear your feedback, and Molly can share some of those.
So a couple of ideas to attract some candidates. One is, so we've put messages in the Thursday newsletter. We were thinking about a note going through the teachers, thinking that in some cases parents might read emails from their class teachers. And my other idea is bring a friend to WCC meeting in March, although it's St. Patrick's Day. So bring a Guinness and wear green and bring a friend. But I think that before I was attending WCC meetings, if someone asked me to be on the board, I would say, I have no idea how to be on the board. I'm not qualified to be on the board. I don't know what happens. And once you start attending, you realize it's, there are some things to know, but there are other people that know what needs to be known until you are lifted up and you're able to be part of this body without any experience besides a love for Winterberry. So those were two of our ideas, and we're open to other ideas. I was just texting with someone I would like to nominate her, but I haven't heard a yes back from her yet. So awesome. We're open to suggestions.
I know for my own, weight that I'd like to carry is just when I do drop off and pick up, hit up other parents that are in the first grade class and soon to be second grade class, and let them know that we need to help carry the torch. And so that's been on my need to do list. And I mean, I think that there's always a big, people like to be courted. So that will be my attempt also to help on that, just because it is kind of necessary to fill those spots. And, the difficult thing, of course, too, in the modern world is, for me at least, a lot of times Zoom works because, like for instance, my wife is at the hospital for the night. Still here at home with the kids, but I think for somebody who's new to Winterberry, Zoom is very not personal. And so it's difficult to be in a room with people and still have the camaraderie when you're kind of the new kid and on Zoom. Yeah, the world will change, and I'm happy to change with it as we need. But I thought it was important to kind of note that.
I think you're absolutely right. And Molly and I were talking about that earlier too, Mark, it is hard. It's hard to think about how to connect with parents. And if parents aren't going to the school as often, even just having that happenstance, those hallway moments that we used to all know and really appreciate it's just different now. So we were trying to think creatively about how to bridge that. I was thinking, oh my goodness, even just trying to do a chalkboard on the drop-off line, right? It's just something like a sandwich board, something just to try to reach those families that aren't following what's happening in other spaces. But you're right, that personal connection is it's tough right now to make those connections. So Molly's thought on trying to do that individually and sort of try to bring more people into the fold so they can experience one of these meetings, virtual as it is, that might help sort of demystify this group and our process to help them warm up to the idea.
Do we have a simple here's what the WCC does? And maybe if I put together, it has some sort of pamphlet, and when I'm dropping off Viva in the morning, I basically am walking around with a sandwich board, trying to hey, these are the people that are on it. Be interested, and I'm good at putting myself out there. I'm not real shy, so.
Yeah, we have some of that material. I mean, it's a part of sort of some of our foundational documents, right, as a group. So I think it's just a matter of combing through that. And if you remember in a recent meeting, Sue was sharing some of that, some of their historical documents that we have. I think there's more we can do to kind of dig in there and comb through what we have and start from there.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
On our website, under parents, there's the Winterberry Family Handbook. And in that handbook, it's full color on the website. There's a beautiful little description of all the boards and how they function. And then a little drawing of how, they function with each other. You can cut and paste out of that, but you could also direct families to that, link that, and then put the page number or something if you wanted to do that. But I was thinking also, in the past, WCC members have come into class teacher meetings to do a little, especially kindergarten, first grade, in our case, maybe even second, third, for families who don't know anything. It's nice to have a representative from WPG and WCC in some of these parent meetings, and just to introduce themselves and to say a little bit about the boards and kind of draw possible interest, especially in the kindergarten and first grade, because those families are so enthusiastic. They're new. They want to be a part of things. And then I would even say to teachers, a little challenge to, your parent body, please pick one WPG and one WCC meeting a year and attend, so that you have a foot in how the school is governed and how the parent body functions to support the teachers and the students.
Yep, absolutely. And I think those are all great ideas. I'm not sure, Principal Pepe Phelps, I'm not sure what grades have parent meetings scheduled for this month, for the remainder of this month, or in March. You know, I do want to recognize our timeline for this work for election.
Mhm.
And we are a little behind now because of the lack of, you know, response. That said, I mean, we are being earnest. We're making progress. So I think that if we're a little behind, we know this and we're doing our best. So if you could help, or we don't have a faculty member that can help kind of carry that water, but if anyone could help relay that to faculty, that we would be willing to do that. I'm willing to do that. I can walk up the street for 15 minutes to talk to a class, you know, for parent night, or jump on a Zoom.
Yeah.
Just I need a little lead notice.
Mm-hmm. I'll look into trying to find those meetings if there happens to be one. It's a little bit of a complicated month this next month because it's spring break and all.
I know.
But I had another thought about that. I lost it, but I'll keep thinking. I know what Molly had said earlier, which is going through teachers, and the kind of unique opportunity of this year is that we have on our YouTube channel, we have WCC meetings that are recorded. So if somebody wants to come on and look kind of a sense of what a WCC meeting, I mean, the protocol is to go back and erase those meetings. So at some point I will go on and erase, but I think it's nice to keep them up for a little bit so that people can go back on and see what those meetings look like. So you could push that out as a little promotion, like tune into one of those and watch some, you know, part of one.
Yep. No, that's good too. Thank you.
I seem to remember in past elections that we really encouraged people to come to a meeting before they nominated themselves, which our timeline now, I think we were supposed to be finished by the end of February with the elections. Is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
So if we hold an election before the end of February with the candidates we have, and then still have empty seats, what is the rule about adding people to the empty seats later on?
I don't know that offhand.
I didn't see it. It's easy for me to find if in this working session you want me to pull it up.
And we don't want to derail your meeting either, but do appreciate all these creative ideas. I know that when someone steps away from a seat, we fill those seats sometimes.
Yeah. If there's a seat opened, if I recall when I looked, and I just looked not that long ago, we can all vote after the, you know, we can all vote as a committee or as a board to then fill that seat. And then that seat will, you know, just go on until, if it's a 1 year or 2 year, whatever's left on that seat.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if it was filling somebody else's, any vacant seat.
Yeah, it's just a majority vote by the board.
Once somebody steps away, but what about a remaining vacancy? Like we have a couple seats.
Been vacant now for a year.
Correct. And that's what I'm not certain of, is the reading of that.
Yeah, I believe it's the same. I believe it's exactly the same wording.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, if there's an opening, somebody can step into that, you know, and be voted into that if there's interest.
And a need, if we're unable to successfully fill that seat through the election.
In the time frame and the situation this year. So, Nick, I'm curious, do you have any thoughts on generating, because you're the newest member of this board, of inspiring new people, any ways that you would think that we could inspire people to get on the WCC board?
Well, for me, what inspired me was when I like you guys said, just attended a meeting. You know, I attended a couple meetings when you guys were doing the public comment, and at that time it was really important to me because of, you know, what was going on around in the community and kids not being in school and what I saw directly affecting my family. So to me, that was just important. I just felt like it was important to at least know what is going on and, voice an opinion that, may not be the same as everybody else's. And to me, that's where I felt strongly about being involved. Is it's just like, one, I want to know what's going on, and two, be able to be another voice in the room that, if most of the voices are going towards one way, like, hey, I got maybe a different idea of what's going on. And so how to get that out there to everybody. I mean, I think all your guys' ideas have been really good so far. It, it it just seems that everybody's so busy right now, and so it's trying to get people to take a step back and realize how I felt, I guess, and what is important. And I mean, our kids are important, our families are important, our jobs are important too, and we get wrapped up in what we're doing with work all the time. But at the same time, it's, to me, I felt like this was directly affecting what is going on in my life, and I need to make sure that my kids are, that they're the most important things to me besides my wife, and then that's what was important. So I guess, how do you get people to realize that as well too? Lauren, being a part of the WPG or the Parents Guild, just even that, like having people volunteer to be a part of just even their classroom has been tough for them. I mean, I don't know. I really don't, but it's definitely something that people need to realize it is important. This is our community. This is our little nest. And to me, I think it's important, but it's like, how do you get them to realize that it's important? And just a little bit here and there, how much of a difference it makes to just be involved. And I enjoy it, the friendships that you make and meeting all you guys and all the other parents out there. It's awesome. So I think if they could just see part of that, and then the relationships that they make, I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to do this. I love coming to these meetings. I love listening to all this. I do. It's to me, I wish that, even with my busy schedule, I could be more involved than what I already am. I feel like a lot of the times I'm kind of the one that's sitting on the sidelines a little bit, where a lot of this stuff, I don't know how to do, but I would love to do it, but I don't really know how to do it. But I mean, it just, things like that. I don't know. I think if people actually saw what you guys are saying, just maybe invite people, hey, just come check out a meeting. I mean, really, it's once a month for us, or at least and then unless you're a part of a subcommittee, and it's not hard, dedicating one night a month. It's not hard. And I think if you they see what's going on, and I don't know, but to get that out there for everybody, I think all your guys' ideas are great. Even just these newsletters, I'm even guilty of it. I can be honest with you. I hardly look at those newsletters. I really don't, but I should,
No need to confess right now. We're not asking for that. We're just asking for you to spread the word, okay?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of different ideas, you put them out in the newsletter. I think just word of mouth, talking to parents while you're out there, talking to other people that we don't see that are involved. I think all that stuff would be helpful, and just get them to attend once or twice. I don't know.
Yeah. That's great.
I don't think I answered your question by any means, but
you did.
Yeah.
You did. It's good.
It's good.
What was
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Molly, do you have anything to share and wrap up? We hit it all, you think?
I think so. I guess, should we make a decision about when to hold the elections and just stick to that date regardless of whether we have any new candidates?
Yes, but I would really encourage us not to try and do that until after spring break. And does that make us too nervous, timing wise?
It doesn't for me. I mean, I think it's good to get it done before the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Just so you kind of have and have a couple opportunities to get people patterned into meeting.
I would agree. I just mentioned that because I think that, yeah, it is kind of a hopscotch of a schedule for these next few weeks, and it might be really hard to kind of get people to pay attention, to see their ballot, cast their ballot, right? So yeah, and however we need to note the delay, that we recognize the delay and we're making our adjustments as we need to. I think we should do something like that in our minutes, to be really transparent about our timing and why we're adjusting our traditional timeline. I think that's important too. Just
Okay.
yeah.
Just to add, and is it a conflict of interest to me being part of that? Like if I try to drum up some interest in this,
No.
or even
No.
we got some ballots and I just came to the first bit of school 3 times a week. I mean, I don't know which 3 times a week it may be, but
No.
and then 30 minutes, that's okay. And we'll
Yes.
try to do something.
I think, yeah, that sharing, that sort of spirit of bringing people in, I think that's a good job for all of us. Our committee will be careful and diligent about our work of what we do with those nominees, and we will put together a fair ballot. And that our committee is not at all tied to the election. So we'll proceed kind of in that way once we have our nominees.
As of now, how many ballot or nominees do we have?
We have no nominees,
On a single one, huh?
none.
Well, I did nominate Lynn Jablonski, who is a past parent. And once I tie a rope around her and drag her back into Winterberry, she will be happy to be back on the WCC board. She did say that she would. She is involved, like everyone, in a variety of things.
Yeah.
But I do think that some historical perspective would be, especially with Jesse stepping off, and Lynn was the liaison for WPG, WCC before. So she's got a good, and her 2 boys went all the way through Winterberry. So
Yep.
it's got a great.
I would welcome it with, big heart nomination from Lynn if she's willing to serve again.
She is. So what would be the step in that?
So the step for that is, she can send it to either myself or Molly. And there are 3 questions that we've had circulated out in the newsletter for her just to answer in a short form. Those answers are going to be used for the ballot process, so that when we put our ballot out, there's an educational form along with it that really helps inform people's votes, right? So those will go together. So those few questions would need an answer, and she could submit that to either myself or to Molly.
So do we need answers to those questions from the incumbents as well?
We will, from anyone that's going to be on the ballot, yes.
Now, there is no conflict of interest or anything to where you can actually be, because I know, Jesse, you're a part of the WPG. You can, are you allowed to be a member that is already current WPG as far as in the WCC tour? Is there only one allowed? I guess I don't know how that works.
Yes, I'm stepping off. So I'm not continuing my service, which is why I can be on our committee.
Okay.
Yeah. So
but you're only allowed to be on one at a time, is that correct? Or
no, so a WPG WCC liaison serves on both. And actually the position that I'm vacating will be up for election through the WPG.
Okay. I guess that was just my only question. If somebody is already serving on the WPG or something, could they come over or anything like that? Or?
Oh, I understand your question. I'm so sorry. There is nothing that would limit a WPG member from considering to be a candidate on the WCC. I do not know if there are rules against dual seats. And that's something I think that we'll have to dig into. Can a parent have a parent seat on the parent guild and a seat in WCC? I don't know if we've come across that other than the liaison position. Honestly, in my mind, I can't think of it. But that's a great question, Nick. That's good.
I've read the bylaws 3 times in the last 2 months or so, and they're not that complicated to cover those kinds of Like every situation is not exactly in there. So,
Uh-huh. Okay, that's good to know that it's not too prescriptive. The one thing I would just say is if someone had it in the goodness of their heart to want to do that, then I would encourage them to think about the liaison position, honestly, because that's crossover, attending all those meetings and then providing sort of a linkage between the two bodies. That's this role that will be vacant.
service. Thank you, Jesse.
Sure. Okay. So if that's it. I can
Go into
conclude and we
business
will
there.
conclude. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, my roommates are going to get a little rowdy here soon, I'm sure. Set a date for the three-body meeting. That's a continued. We had some earlier about.
Yes, we just speak to it aside from Principal Pepe Phelps report. We're speaking to this because we want to make it happen and make sure that it is on our record for these meetings. And a huge thank you to Principal Pepe Phelps for her work to keep that alive and rolling. And I don't know if you have any other updates from what you've shared in the past, Principal Pepe Phelps, but.
Well, we're looking for a date to come first out of this body. And then WCC are eager to participate. It's just really trying to figure out what time, when faculty members, WPG and WCC could all get together in a time that everybody would be willing to participate. And, you know, it could be a discussion point whether or not we did it in an evening session. I also have, we've been working with our school mentors, George and Donna, and I've been in ongoing conversation with them this year. And they, I haven't checked in recently with them, but they initially had talked about their interest in facilitating that, which would be an incredible, great thing for us.
Mhm.
They've done it before, and they're very, very.
Didn't they do it at the last one we've ever had as a body? I think they did at the BP Energy Center. Do you remember that?
Maybe, I don't know. I've been to a few, so I can't quite remember what was the last one, but yeah,
It was great.
And this one, you know, would likely be in my imagination, in actually making it happen, this three-body check-in or whatever we want to call it would happen probably over Zoom. And it would be some way of just trying to bring as many people together and to possibly get some kind of an overview of a little bit of history of our school, so that again we can lay some groundwork going ahead to do something significant and really plan for three-body meetings in the future, because they're a powerful tool for our whole community.
I would just say, I think that sounds fantastic. And then one thing I remember about that meeting was that there was a lot of opportunity for engagement and for parents and teachers, that we were working together. So we were together in person, but there were things on whiteboards. It was really inclusive. And even through Zoom, there are tools like that. So, you know, that whiteboard concept, or indicating desires around certain concepts, even any sort of visioning work like that could translate with the technology. It's just a matter of making time to sort of teach people how to use those annotation tools and help them before kind of launching in. So there's creative things I think you could do with Zoom to help them, like with the tech side, if they want that help, to bring that piece in so that it isn't all receiving. There's opportunities to give. So I'm excited to hear about that and hope that it can happen.
And I've told them I would help facilitate that. And I have done a number of large group activities through my Waldorf leadership program that I'm enrolled in, and different things, using those on Zoom tools that I'd be happy to share with groups of, larger group of people.
Is there any faculty members that are stepping down? I can't remember. Are these all parent seats?
I think both faculty
Both.
members were stepping down.
Okay.
Or maybe, no, I don't see Lisa on here, but
I don't think her seat's up yet. Sarah's is.
okay.
Okay.
May I go into the ASD masking policy? And just, I'm not sure if we totally concluded that there was a question as to whether ASD would like to maintain control over whether we're allowed to be less conservative, more conservative. And I just wanted to cross that base. Julie, the last we chatted, you had mentioned that Chris Barr had said ASD has rescinded the offer for schools to make decisions as to whether they would like to be more conservative on their help me out with words on this part.
Well, that's great, Mark. I don't think there ever was really an offer. We
just did it,
gave
yeah.
the superintendent last year our, like what we were doing. We're coming back later. We're doing, you know, this in this way, and the superintendent accepted it wasn't a request. It wasn't posed as that. It was a notification, and that's how our then charter director gave it to the superintendent. This year, our new director, based on the request of a variety of charter school principals, asked the direct question of the superintendent whether or not we could deviate on either side. And the answer came back that we are to follow, that part of what our contract with ASD is that we follow those kinds of rules as all schools in the district. So what we had talked about briefly, I think the last, a couple of meetings ago, is if it comes to a place that we're uncomfortable, you as a body are uncomfortable, then we could challenge that, but knowing that already there's been a statement put forth. So it's not quite like we did before. And that's just right now. Nobody's challenging, nothing's happened beyond what was already stated. And so we're heading into numbers going down and things like that. So it may become an issue again, but at this point we're kind of at status quo.
I think that was really good, like summary of what we said. And I think the biggest thing I would just highlight is that environmental factor. And I think that this conversation came about when there was sort of a series of events happening and we were questioning our feelings about that. And then there was a change in decision made. And so that kind of gave us some pause. And I think that we had talked about trying to determine if we would want to try to get ahead of things or, how best to address it or not, frankly. And as Julie said, should we want to call the question further, then we're wanting to know a little more about sort of the parameters of what charters may and may not do in these circumstances and what level of autonomy could we explore. We are the ASD.
Thank you for looping back around and having us all understand that a little bit better and the resolution of that. So here's where we are. WCC annual calendar review. Well, I'm just going to put this on your radar. I've started a bullet point, but it's nothing much to note yet. But by next month's agenda, I'll keep this on, and I can at least show you where I'm at in creating a bullet point calendar so that everybody can kind of see what we're supposed to do in the month of March or the month of April on an annual basis, as per the bylaws, as to kind of set up for that, for instance, drumming up excitement about elections before the elections come up. Would anybody else like to add anything to that? Awesome. Principal evaluation. Does everybody feel like we have the ability to do that in a respectful yet maybe efficient way? Sorry.
We'd go into executive committee for that,
Yeah.
right?
Before we do that, I'll make a general statement here, what we have done. Principal Phelps is collected, as you know, surveys from the teaching population. I have pulled up the climate study from ASD from last year, and then just our own general observations as well. And just kind of a way to filter all of that in an attempt to give an evaluation. Is there anything that somebody would like to contribute before we go into executive session?
I just wanted to, as far as the process goes, because we're going to come back, I was thinking that maybe, so who will be in executive session? Mark, Jesse, Paula, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe what we could do is move Molly and Shayna into the waiting room and turn off the YouTube temporarily, and then come back on YouTube and bring them back in when we're finished with executive session. Does that work?
That'd be terrific.
Okay, so I'm going to first.
Thank you, Shannon. Molly, see you in a second.
Okay, let me see. And actually, Mark, I think I gave you hosting privileges. So
I can screen share or do something.
Well, would you first give hosting privileges back to me so I can deal with YouTube and all that first? So just go.
Yes. Oh, help me out with that one.
Yeah, go up to the corner of my picture and hit the 3 dots up there.
Got it. Make host.
Yep. Make me give me hosting powers again, and I'll. You are hosting.
Would someone like to make a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion to go into executive session. This is Jesse.
This is Nick. I'll second it.
Excellent. Thank you, Molly. Let's see here. Goodbye, Molly. I'm putting you in the waiting room. And goodbye, Shayna. You're going into waiting room. And then I will end our little stop live stream.